Very good morning, friends. I am author Devansh Mehta, qualified as Master in Pharmacy in the subject of Pharmacology and MBA in Pharmaceutical Marketing and Hospital Administration. This video is about the review on tuberculosis. As you all know that tuberculosis is very common disease globally and worldwide, and it is also a very deadly disease. The term tuberculosis was first coined by scientist Robert Koch, dated 24th March 1882. Tuberculosis is present since the history of Homo sapiens, that is humans, and the cases of tuberculosis have been studied and reported around 15,000 to 20,000 years back. Even the Egyptian mummies and the samples from fossils of old generation people, even in the Neolithic age, have confirmed that tuberculosis had been present since the ages. Tuberculosis is caused by a bacteria known as Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and it was found by the famous scientist Robert Koch. Tuberculosis is known by various names since the dawn of humankind. The common names which it has been known earlier had been phthisis, consumption, the Great White Plague, scrofula, the killer of young population, and many more. Tuberculosis mainly affects people of young generation aged from 18 years to 35 years, and globally there are 10 million cases of tuberculosis, of which 2 million cases arises every year, and 1.3 million deaths have been reported due to tuberculosis globally. Tuberculosis is highly deadly disease because of the very nature of the bacteria Mycobacterium tuberculosis, because it has a cell wall of peptidoglycan and has a high quantity of lipid profile present in its cell wall. It develops resistance immediately to the chemotherapeutic drugs or the anti-TB drugs administered to the patient's body, and the mutated cells cause drug resistance TB or tuberculosis. There are various strains of tuberculosis which are multi-drug resistance tuberculosis, extended drug resistance tuberculosis, and total drug resistance tuberculosis. If a patient is suffering from total drug resistance tuberculosis, there is no cure for it, and the person can infect the other people through coughing, sneezing, and through sweats or from the discharge of his body to the other patient. Whatever the case of tuberculosis, the patient transfers the same case of tuber TB to the other people, and they develop the same disease in themselves. Tuberculosis is highly contagious disease and mainly affects the lungs of the body. If TB affects the lungs of the body, it is known as pulmonary TB, and if the TB is affecting the other parts of the body excluding the lungs, it is known as extrapulmonary tuberculosis. The extrapulmonary tuberculosis can be TB of brain, TB of bones, TB of kidney, TB of stomach, etc. It's a very deadly disease and mainly affects 50% of the population who are immunocompromised because of either disease such as HIV, AIDS, or for which patients the immune system is compromised, such as during cancer chemotherapy. Even the cases of people having TB is detected, those who are affected by diabetes because of its very nature of the diabetes, and people who are on immunomodulatory drugs, they also are on higher risk factor for developing tuberculosis. Lot of research and development are happening all across the world to find a particular cure or the ultimate cure for tuberculosis and eliminate it completely from the human population. There have been vaccination drives, and the vaccine, very common vaccine which has been known to prevent from getting infected by tuberculosis is BCG vaccine, also known as Bacillus calmette-guerin, named after the scientists who developed this vaccine. Though there have been cases that BCG vaccine does not particularly prevents from tuberculosis infection. There are a lot of chemotherapy drugs which are highly effective in curing the tuberculosis, and these are isoniazid, rifampicin, etc. The newer drugs which have been found out to cure or completely cure the cases of tuberculosis have been damanite, pletomanite, etc. And it has been known that benzothiazones have been highly effective in treating the cases of tuberculosis. Lot of clinical trials are happening all across the world to find a particular cure for tuberculosis. Now, let me first tell you something about clinical trials. The trials are of two types. These are preclinical trials which are conducted on animals and also known as animal studies, and the clinical trials which are known as human trials or the trials on humans. First, the trials are conducted on animals, on experimental animals like mice, rats, guinea pigs, and only when confirmed safety has been proved in animals regarding any particular vaccine or the drug, it is approved by the regulatory authorities for conduction of clinical trials on them. The clinical trials are conducted in various phases, and these are phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 and phase 5. Only when the safety and the bioavailability and bio safety of the drugs or the experimental drugs have been confirmed through the trials and reports and through testings, only then it is approved by the governing body like FDA to be sold in the market as a cure for particular disease. Now in case of tuberculosis, looking at the very nature of the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, the bacteria responsible for causing the disease, it is highly difficult to find a particular drug or any vaccine for it. Why? Because of the very nature of strong nature of its existence in our nature. It has strong cell wall and strong DNA, and it multiplies rapidly and develops resistance rapidly against any particular drug administered to kill or to finish it off. Looking at the current situation, the total drug resistant Mycobacterium tuberculosis or the TB tuberculosis has no cure as per se. The management of tuberculosis includes administration of antibiotics and looking after the patient's environment, giving them a good food, a healthy diet, and preventing the chances of or the risk of developing infections in the patient's environment. It is important to manage the disease in order to completely eradicate it from the patient's body. However, small strains of the bacteria still remain in the body and the person is affected throughout his life. Tuberculosis has been staged as in two types, and these are active TB and latent TB. Any person who is getting affected by active TB can transmit the disease to other people. So it is very important to keep the person suffering from active TB isolated from the other people to stop the spread of the disease. The other stage of tuberculosis is the latent TB, where the Mycobacterium tuberculosis is not dividing or not multiplying at rapid rate, and the symptoms are not present in the patient's body. The common symptoms of tuberculosis, which however it's highly non-symptomatic, whereas the common symptoms which are diagnosed or which are indication or the risk factor for developing a TB is a blood in the sputum, frequent coughs for the period of 2 months regularly, having chest in the pen, in the chest, having chest pain, having chills and night sweats. During the 18th century and 19th century, it was declared as epidemic because around 25% of the population of the whole world population was affected by tuberculosis at that time, and the very new research were happening all across the world to prevent its spread. The World Health Organization has recommended a DOTS strategy to treat the cases of tuberculosis, and the DOTS strategy includes the antibiotics and other antimicrobials to be given to the patient in order to cure the cases of tuberculosis. Lot of herbal remedies are in place which are alternate therapies to cure the cases of tuberculosis, because number one, they do not have any side effects, and number two, they do not develop any resistance in the bacteria. Lot of plants and herbal medicines and the plant or the phytochemicals are highly effective as anti-TB drugs, and it has been found all across the world. Commonly, plants which are effective in curing the cases of TB are aloe vera and Adha Thoda Vasica, etc. In the end of this video, I would recommend that the awareness regarding the causing or the risk factors for the tuberculosis shall be conducted all across the world to prevent the spread of the disease, and the population of the whole world should be sensitized regarding the types of tuberculosis, such as multi-drug resistant tuberculosis or the extended drug resistant tuberculosis or the total drug resistance tuberculosis. That's it in this review video. If you do like my video and if you do like my talk, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. My channel is Healthy Ninja, and I will be keep talking about newer topics, drugs and the diseases which are a threat to the whole population of the world. That's it. This is Devansh Mehta signing off from Meerut.